Hi, I'm Abby Rosenblum, founder of the Social Modern Matchmaking and your host of Ghosted, a podcast about making dating easy and fun again so you can find your boo. Get it? We'll talk with dating experts, coaches, and real clients of mine and single people from around the world. Stick around for corny jokes, dating advice, and deep dives into the psychology behind finding love. Okay, we're doing it. We're live. I'm super excited. This is a very special episode of the Ghosted podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Abby Rosenblum, and this is a first. We are live, and who better to do my first live episode than with former bachelor, entrepreneur, wear so many hats, now author, Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for adding those things. It makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Hey, if this is your first time going live, I'm here to ride along with you. We'll do this together, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. We've done some lives before, but never a live recording of the podcast, because why not just live life on the edge, right?
That's right. Let's do it.
Let's
say some weird stuff.
Yeah, right? Let's get weird. Why not?
That's right.
So yeah, I'm super excited to have you here. I promise it will not be all bachelor talk. I'm sure, sometimes I'm sure get exhausted by that. But really what I'm most excited to talk about to start with is your new book. Alone in Plain Sight. I read it over the weekend. I binged it. You have it right there. Tell me, what has kind of been the response you've been getting so far from the book?
Oh, man, it's been wild. Writing a book's really weird because you spend years on it, and then you spend a couple months packaging it and marketing it and promoting it, and then it launches, and it's like kind of taken out of your hands. I'll say I feel I don't know how many, I don't know the numbers to what makes a successful book sale. I don't and I've chosen not to research that. But I've kind of been encouraged and lived off of the feedback, the reviews, and they've been overall pretty positive. You get a couple, and that's fine. I get it. Not everybody's going to be an agreeance, or not everybody's going to think it's the best thing out there. That's fine. But overall, I felt really encouraged because people have at least shared their honest opinion, and I guess that's all I've been hoping for. Is that people would not just be trolls to be mean and not just be nice to be nice. I want their authentic, honest opinion. And I feel like overall I'm getting that.
That's awesome. And, as I was reading too, you get pretty vulnerable with, things that you've been dealing with in your life. And, as a matchmaker who's always trying to get people to be vulnerable and share their true selves, it's A+ work on that, but what kind of work did you have to go through to put those words on the page, to feel comfortable, in that place of vulnerability?
That's a great question. Let me try to answer that.
You can think on it too. There's no rush.
Yeah. So the first thing is I recognized early on in my life, I had a big ego. And my reaction to things and my initial judgment on things were typically pretty wrong. And I say that to say I had to humble myself because I consistently was wrong. And I had to continue to have mud thrown in my face because I was wrong. And over the course of my life, I realized that my pains and my insecurities actually were the thing that people were most interested in hearing. Maybe the thing that connected me the most to true friendship. And so when it came to the book, as I started writing, this book started as a journal. I started writing some of my deepest issues. And as I told people these things, they actually were more intrigued with me than they were when I would just come off as I knew it all or that I had it all together. And one of my biggest insecurities my whole life has been that I felt like the outsider looking in, or I felt alone. And that hasn't ever really gone away, even as life has been really good to me. And so as I shared that insecurity, people started to respond with, me too, I feel the same way. And that's why this book started, was to be a response, because I can't imagine a worse feeling than feeling alone and sad at the same time. So this book is kind of a love letter to all those who feel disconnected or feel like the outsider, to say, one, I get it. I'm not going to try to fix you, but you're not alone at least. And I've been there too. And so that's why I was vulnerable, is because I think it was the only way to communicate that message.
Yeah, and I mean, props to you for being able to communicate that. And, I think sometimes we think, you were on a huge reality TV show, where you
Mm.
contested, and then you were, the
Yeah.
bachelor, obviously. No one looks at you and thinks like, oh, this guy's not killing it. Like everyone would look at you and think he's killing it. He must be living the life.
Mm.
So to be able to then admit that, I think is really cool, and I'm sure was a humbling experience for you too.
Does it make sense where I would say it would be nice if I would feel like outside opinion would say, "Oh, he's killing it." Like that's never. It's never where like there's been moments, but it's not where my heart settles. Like in my mind, in the quiets of my heart, in the quiets of my mind, it's always been this. It has. I said on the show, and I said in the book, like people don't like me, they don't give me, they don't understand me. Um, it would be awesome if I could live in a space where it's like, oh yeah, everybody just thinks I'm killing it because I am, and it's like I'm not. Like it's not like that. It's not that easy. There's a lot of struggle here. There's a lot of stuff in my head that just floats around. And granted, I don't live in a space. I don't want to make this sound like, oh, poor Ben. It's like I don't live in a space of feeling like the outsider all the time, but it happens, and it sometimes happens at the worst moments. And when it does, I need to confront it, and that's what I try to do with Alone in Plain Sight.
Yeah, and so cool that it started as a journal. Journaling, of course, can be a
Yeah.
great outlet to kind of go through some of those emotions and figure it all out. But yeah, I mean, I would think that a lot of people reading your book would be like, whoa, he really felt that way.
Yeah.
I would be surprising, I think, but all the pressure I'm sure you have of kind of being that he's killing it kind of guy can also be a whole other thing.
I wonder how many of us though have that pressure. Like we can talk about my individual circumstance and say, oh yeah, he was on the show and he was kind of handed this platform and he has 1 million followers and that like seems like he's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
But I bet the feeling of somebody out there who is just right out of college and trying to find their first job and they haven't found one yet. Or maybe they have found one and they just don't love it. Or maybe the person out there who's been a doctor for 10 years and realized it's not for them. Whatever. I mean, like how many of us actually are sitting in that space where people from the outside go, oh, they have it all together. Or we feel internally like, oh, we have to show that we have it all together. But out actually in our hearts and our most honest forms, we're going, we don't. I wonder what happened if we started to actually be authentic in that space and not try to cover that up and show a different face.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of part of my personal issue I have with social media is that, we just show that part of us, the 1 million followers, the great photos, to make it seem like we're great and we're in a great space. But, you're right, what if we did flip that? And, we posted a video of us in our darkest days or without makeup on. A lot of people do that. But sadly, it's like I feel like it probably doesn't get as many responses maybe as the filtered, professional photographer kind of photos.
Yeah. And I mean, and there might be a space for both
Yeah.
because life is kind of both, right? We have our mornings we wake up and we feel like, oh yeah, this is the day. I'm feeling good. We have the moments in life where we get the phone call that we've dreaded our whole lives that bring us bad news and it puts us in a place. It's the one thing about social media that maybe my biggest criticism is not as much what we show, but it doesn't allow people to know us in our truest form.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away the opportunity for those of us who are friends with each other to ask our closest friends, how are you? Where are you at in life? Maybe that's the thing with social media that I don't like. There's a disconnect there. Not that, hey, if I found a great picture, I want to post that thing as fast as anybody.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. But what I don't like is when I find that great picture and life is heavy around me and I post it. And really all I'm wanting is for a friend to call and say, how are you today? Where can I help? That's what the social media misses. It just doesn't give us that opportunity. And that's why it's so important for us to be intentional with the time that we do have with friends outside of our social media to ask them and to be a part of their life in the present moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this brings me perfectly to another question I wanted to ask you about. I had a quote from the book that really just like stuck with me. It was, let's see, I have it on my sheet here. Hold on. Okay, so without connections, without relationships, our lives will forever be aimless and empty. At least that's what I've always been taught. And so that just really stuck with me because connecting people and relationships, that's my jam. Bringing single people together and
Yeah.
helping them find love. So, do you feel like, or do you have any advice for people who are having trouble making those super important connections and relationships, and feeling isolated, during the
Mm.
pandemic and everything?
I mean, during the pandemic is tough. I was just
Yeah.
actually right before I did this, I was on a drive home with my buddy, and we were talking about a few friends of ours, and I was like, the pandemic has really hurt dating, uh, and I'm not just talking romantic dating, right? There's a whole that quote there is also sandwiched with a chapter about singleness. One of the things I really love is the singles of this world. I've been single for years in my life. I think there's a great opportunity being single. I think it's a beautiful thing to be single. I think singleness could be and should be celebrated. Now, some don't desire to be single forever. I didn't. I found an amazing partner that is now my fiance that I'm very excited and happy with. But it doesn't take away from the season of life that I was single and happy, single and good. Uh, However, to go back to your question, the pandemic has added on this layer of difficulty making connection in relationships. There's a great part in the book where I talk to Tanya Rad is her name. She's Ryan Seacrest co-host, and she says this about dating. I would say the same thing for friendships: is to get out there, to fail and fail and fail again at dating, to create stories, to make connections that are good and bad until you find your people. I think it's so important. I think it's hard. I think it's scary. I think a lot of people don't have the energy for it because they have a full-time job or maybe they're parents or whatever that is. Or maybe they're not in a great mental headspace, so they're just exhausted because their mind is not allowing them to see things clearly or to see things with an energetic light. But I would say this, to make good connection, there's not a lot of tricks to the trade. You want to be your authentic self. But I'd say the best tip I can give is just to put yourself out there, create some stories, make some memories. I used to go to a bar next to my house and sit alone at the bar stool and just be the weirdo that would, like, somebody sits down alone too and be like, hey, what's your story? Now, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but it allowed me to get to know a lot of people in this town. And so I just say this, like, my tip is just to put yourself out there. You're valuable. You're worth it. People want it. People want people in their lives. So just give it your all to make those connections.
I so appreciate you saying that because especially what I do, you got to get out there and just keep meeting people. There's definitely dating burnout that happens. If that's happening to you, take a
Mm.
break. But,
Yeah, sure.
singlehood is awesome. And you're right, it should be celebrated. How did you get to a place where you could feel that way about being single yourself?
I think it honestly came one day. I remember this. I was laying in my bed here. I was looking up at the ceiling. I was like, I think I'm going to be single forever. Like, I don't think I don't think I'm going to be in a romantic relationship. I think I'm going to have to be okay with that. And what does life look like if that were the case? What would life look like if I never would have a romantic partner? Would I be okay? Is my identity lost? Are my dreams taken away from me? And I had to come to a place where I'd say no. And I told my friends and my family, I called them, I think probably the next day, and I was like, hey, I think I came to this conclusion that I'm going to be single. And I want you to know that I'm good with that and that there's a lot of opportunity to that. I'm a Christian, and in the Bible, there's a character named Paul, and he talks about it. And even if you aren't a Christian, I think you'd find this interesting
Yeah.
because the church especially is very adamant about romantic relationships to a fault. I think they're like, hey, you got to get married and get married quick and have kids and just all this stuff. And Paul talks about, he has a whole section in the Bible where he talks about, the freedom of being single, the gifts that come with being single, the opportunities that come with being single. That, in a sense, what he's saying is like, hey, nobody's back at home waiting for you to come home. That if you need to travel and see the world, if you need to travel and see a friend, if your job needs to take you across, like whatever it is, like being single allows that. Now, I was lucky enough to find an incredible partner that I'm very, very happy with. But I think I was only ready for that once I got to a place personally where I was accepting the fact that I could be single and I was going to be okay with that. Then it allowed me to enter into this partnership, not needing everything, but wanting to be a good partner to Jessica.
Yeah. And Thank you again for saying that, because I feel like my clients, my listeners, I'm like, hey, once you can love yourself, appreciate yourself, that's when you're gonna find your person. There really is a method to the madness. And obviously,
Good.
you're happy now. You're with Jessica. We see all your
Hmm.
amazing pictures, and you two
Very
look
happy.
awesome together. I'm super excited for you. When you two met, was it like an initial, just like, whoa, this is my person? Or was it like a slow burn kind of thing?
Interesting question. When we first met, there was something special. I can't explain it. But like even our messages, I was just like intrigued,
Mm-hmm.
and I was invested. And then we started FaceTiming, and that continued. I say it with her. I'd never have doubted that she was the one for me, which is weird. Like, there's not this aha moment where it's like, oh my gosh, I cannot like the world's changed. It's like, no, it's just never not been not been on my mind. It's never been a thing that feels scary. It's never been a thing that feels wild. It just has always felt like, yes, this is it. This is perfect. This is peaceful. I've said it like this a few times
Yeah.
recently. The thing about our relationship that maybe is unique to my life is when I look at our relationship, it's peaceful. It's exciting, but it's just there's like a peace to my heart about spending my life with her, and so I don't know if I'd say a slow burn. Like there was never a moment though I doubted
Mm-hmm.
it, but there was not this like aha moment either.
Because I think a lot of people are looking for that moment where there's literally, they see sparks and fireworks and they kiss the
Yeah,
person, and it's like,
sure.
a cartoon moment where your eyes pop out of your head or something. But that
Hmm.
really like doesn't happen all that often. And so
I'm sure it
it
can,
totally can.
but it doesn't. It didn't happen with me,
Yeah.
and yeah, and also I think I'm 30. I was 30 when I met her. 29, turning 30 soon. Like there had been some baggage along the way, some damage, right? Like uh, your innocence maybe is taken away a bit over time
Mm.
and through heartbreak and through uh, difficulties and through not even romantic heartbreak, but just like life's heartbreak, like jobs and all that stuff. And so like, maybe those moments still exist where like there's fireworks, but for me, I don't know if I was looking for fireworks. I was looking for somebody I could look at in the eyes and say, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And I'm excited about that. And I know that like the feeling I have today is a feeling that we can continue to commit to for the rest of our lives. Um, and I think that's something that I would always say. I talked to a youth group last night and I was like, uh, one of the things I wanted to say with him, I didn't get it, was like, you don't have to look for that euphoric moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't set yourself up for failure because the euphoria fades. And what happens when it fades? That puppy love fades. What happens when it fades? Like, look for the moment where you find the person sitting across from you going, you and I can do this life together and we can do it well. And I know you're going to be there the whole time.
Mic drop. We're done. We don't even need to talk about anything else.
Mic drop.
You
Boom.
said it. Yeah. I mean, do you feel like The Bachelor, the show, kind of set it up where, obviously the euphoria and the sparks is what you're searching for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the show definitely cultivates the environment for that. The dates are, you're flying across the world, and you're going on crazy dates, and it's a lot of pressure. Like I think so. I don't think it has to be that. I wouldn't say that everybody has that experience, but I think the show sets it up for that, or they want to see
Mm-hmm.
that.
And
Um,
that's good
so
TV.
yes, I don't know if it's the healthiest way.
Yeah.
It's great TV, right? Yeah, it
And
is.
sometimes, it's hard, for people who aren't on a reality show or don't know what's happening
I'm
behind
sure.
the scenes to tell, like, what is real or what is, kind of just going on, and just to make it more exciting for us to watch at home. So, I think what has
Uh,
kind of messed up how a lot of people view romance is like, oh yeah, you have to fly
yeah.
someone on a private jet to Hawaii and go ziplining,
Mm.
or you have to do these grand things that are considered romantic. How did you kind of flip your mindset, or were you already kind of like in that good space when you were on the show, knowing like, hey, this is all just way blown out of proportion?
No. I mean, I would never assume in my life that I'm in a good headspace in those, like in any environment. Like it takes me a while to
Yeah.
learn. I think the one thing I do well in life is I learn, but it takes me time. And so when I was in it, I was young too. I was 26. Um, and so there's still a lot of like naivete to like life. And so you think this is what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
One is, everybody on the show is you feel like everybody like wants these private jets and they want the fancy like houses, and you're kind of getting that mind space of like you realize I live in a 700 square foot house in Denver. Like this isn't what I do in my normal life.
Yeah.
Um, I think what happened, it's funny. It had me. I was on Ellen one day, and she was talking about, and I think I could probably still find the clip, but she was talking about what it's like to go from like working a desk job to being the bachelor overnight. And I
Yeah.
said, the one thing I've realized this whole time is staying at the fanciest hotels in the world, I still get as good a night's sleep as I do at the Hampton Inn. And that's funny. And like, I say that and say like, in a sense, that's what the message that I've learned is like, these things are awesome. And it's great to sleep in a nice hotel, and it's nice to have a great dinner. It's
Yeah.
great to fly across the world. But it's the nights with Jessica now where we can sit across each other at dinner and talk life, or the nights we sit on the couch and watch some stupid show that feel even greater. Like they far exceed they any nice private jet. And it's the nights at the Hampton Inn that are just as nice to me as the nights at the fancy hotel. That's not the things in life that are fulfilling. The opportunity costs of those things aren't as great as just spending time with people that love you and that you love them.
Oh, for sure. I second that all the way. And I am kind of amazed that, being on The Bachelor didn't kind of ruin that whole thought process for you, because I feel like it totally could,
Mm,
getting swept up in the
yeah,
fame and, having all these
sure.
doors opened for you, to still be able to value like those important things. I think a lot of people wouldn't expect that. And maybe a lot of others on the show
Mm.
maybe aren't able to do that too.
Yeah. I mean, I can see, I mean, it could be addictive. Like
Yeah.
you can see it even if you probably followed some people from the show, you can see where it sucked them in. And I get it. And some people like it sucks them in and they make a life that way and it works for them. It's not always bad, but for me, I just knew that wasn't going to be an option. I don't have a tangible skill set to like use after the show. Um, and some people did, and they've monetized and they've made great things with it. And that's awesome. But
Yeah.
for me, I don't necessarily like want that. I grew up in a really small town in Indiana. Uh, me like that. I can't get too fancy. It makes me feel uncomfortable because I'm not used to it, and my family would never be okay with it either.
Yeah, they'd be like, what is this guy up to?
Yeah, he's changed.
You've changed, man.
Yeah. That's what they say.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that you talk about, your family and everything in the book too. And I know the one part that I can't forget also is your dad saying, like, when you know with
You
your
know.
person. That's what
Mm.
all older people say about finding their spouse, isn't it?
It is, and I remember that day. It was here. We were doing the roof, and I said, "How do you know?" And he goes, "When you know, you know." I was like, "Dad, you could give me so much more than that," and he didn't. And I think it's proven true. Uh, when you know, you know. Like when you know, it's not a question; it's a confidence.
Yeah.
And I sit in that space today. I think there could have been a little more given, some context to that statement. He didn't really expound on that thought. I think he could have, but he wasn't wrong. I can't argue that he was not right.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. I think for single people listening, they may be like, well, what the hell? That doesn't help me.
Yeah,
But when
I
you
get
know,
it.
you'll know.
Hmm.
I love that. So obviously, in your book, you address, your relationship with Lauren and, go into some detail into kind of what went down there. Do you look back on that relationship with any regrets, or do you look back on it as a growth journey?
Mm. Well, I said today I look at it as a growth experience. I think I mean, if I was honest, like there's a time in life I was angry or mad or not regretful. But now I look back and like, I mean, there was nothing. I think some of the hardest situations in our life are the things that teach us the most. And also the hardest situations in life allow us to see the glimpse of what we can be grateful for one day or hopeful for one day. And when you finally, sit in a space where that hope has came true, then maybe that's when it turns into gratefulness. And I think that's what that season of life did for me. It taught me a lot. It humbled me a ton. It allowed me to go introspective and figure out what kind of man I wasn't and maybe what kind of man I wanted to be. It also allowed me to see what I was looking for or hoping for in a partner one day. And now I sit in a space where it's like that stuff's came true. So now I'm just grateful. So I would say the best way to wrap it up, if we were to, define it in a sentence, would be like, it was an amazing learning experience that I am not regretful for, but in a sense thankful for, because I think it did allow me to be a better man based on the pain and based on the lessons learned.
Yeah. I think, that's a great way to look at it. Of course, even people who, go through divorces and they come out on the other side and you're like, you know what? I can
Yeah.
still see the silver lining. There's like a way that you
Definitely.
can grow and change from past relationships. Sure, we all have our baggage that you're always going to bring along with you, but just a matter of making sure the baggage is neatly packed, not exploding all over the place.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think I had to get to a place where it was neatly packed, right? It was controlled maybe.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much chaos when I met Jessica. There wasn't as much chaos in my life. There wasn't as much confusion. Like, it was something that she wanted to learn about or know about at least, and that's healthy, like you said. Like, but we all have baggage, and it's just how is our partners? You want somebody ultimately, I think, in life to look across the table at you and go, "I love you," not only because of where you've been, but where you're going and where you're at now. I think that's the most exciting thing is there's no shame in love.
And everyone is deserving of that kind of love too.
Nah, sure, there definitely
I
is.
think a
Yeah.
lot of people, have that moment where they're like, I'm never going to find someone. Or I was even on the phone earlier today with someone who said, I think I'm just going to be single forever, kind of what you said earlier.
Mm,
And I almost wasn't mad about that. I was like, you know what? If you are
mm,
feeling that way and then you can kind of be content in that and still want to
mm.
date, awesome. Kind of like what you were talking about
Yeah, there's a
before.
beauty to that. Definitely. Yeah, there's a beauty to that. And maybe those are the moments where all of a sudden life surprises us. Out of nowhere, you get to a place where you're like, I could be in this season forever.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself not, which is really fun.
Also, I have to ask too, how is it dating? Like, as the former bachelor, I have that you probably had like women sliding into your DMs every 5 seconds.
I don't think so, honestly. No, that was not my life.
Okay, that's just my
I was
assumption
single for a long,
then.
yeah. And that's maybe funny because like it's really because I think people on the outside might think that, and then when you go internally and you're like, no, that's not really what was going on. I was single for a long
Yeah.
time, like very single. And I again, like that wasn't a bad season for me. It just was like I was a great friend.
Hmm.
I was at everybody's birthdays. I was visiting their houses at night. I was bothering their wife or their girlfriends when I got the opportunity and just like hanging out, sitting on the couch, playing Mario Kart. It wasn't wild at all. In fact, it was like everything but wild. There's no like even I can't even think back on that season or in the in between and think, wow, that was like I was getting so much attention. It was maybe the opposite. I felt like I wasn't getting attention.
That is so surprising to me. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, I had to reach out to Jessica. Like, I had to send her a message on Instagram even
no
because I
way.
was
You
like,
slid into
you
her
know,
DMs?
I slid into her DMs. I was in Vegas with a couple buddies, two guys from the show. And I was like, how do you all meet people? Like, how do you date? And they're like, you just gotta like start DMing. And I was like, I don't know about that. And then her picture came up, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. And I did it, and well, now I'm gonna be getting
And
married.
the rest is history.
It
Then you can
works.
tell that story at the
And the horse.
wedding.
That's right.
Have you
Yep.
guys picked a date yet? I'm sure you get asked that all the time.
Yeah, we're gonna get married in November of this year, no matter what.
Good, good.
So, yep, we're doing it. If there's people there or not, we are getting married in November of this year.
I feel like you've got to be okay in November. I mean, I'm getting married in September, and I have high hopes for that. So fingers
I
crossed.
hope so for both of us. Then yes, let's count on it, please.
Yeah, yeah, it'll happen. I think we'll be good by then.
Thank.
So
I hope
that is
so.
super exciting. So I wanted to ask you, obviously the Bachelor franchise has been in the headlines a little bit lately.
Uh-huh.
With if for people listening who maybe aren't filled in on what's been going on, Chris Harrison had an interview where he, kind of defended one of the current contestants about some questionable choices, I guess, on photos she liked with Confederate flags. And I'm probably not the best person to, list all the things that happened. And so, I know he's kind of stepped aside for the moment. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have an opinion on kind of what has gone down?
Mm. Well, yeah. I mean, I think everybody can have an opinion on it, but I think it always has to be prefaced with, Rachel Lindsay is a friend of mine. She is somebody that I've known. We've done this show, and we've worked together on some projects. Chris Harrison is a friend of mine. He's been really good to me, and we've golfed together. We talk. And so it's a really weird place to sit when you're sitting there and you're going, man, how do I process this? And I said it. I think Chris said some things that were not helpful to the conversation. I know that there was things said and kind of how he said it that hurt people in the process, and that's not okay. I respect the way Rachel has been outspoken about what equality means, what racial reconciliation looks like, how we get to a place of racial justice. And so you kind of, like in my world, you kind of take both of those things, right? Two friends, one says something stupid, does something stupid. Was it his intention? I don't know. I don't know that. Can he be held accountable? 100% he can. However, I think all of us live in a world, and we always have, and it's one of the beautiful things, not only about being a Christian, but it's just kind of how people work. Like, we've all messed up. And then it's like, okay, when you mess up, how are you going to get better? How are we going to, that's one of the most beautiful things to the human story is when we've messed up. It's when people have said, I need to learn more. I need to get better. I need to do more. I need to help and not hurt. And I believe, based on conversations with Chris, but also I just believe because of the human he is and the human he's always been, that he is doing that right now. I'm assuming that. Maybe let's say I'm assuming it. And I hope so. And I think when he does, and if he is, then his platform to make the change that maybe he didn't make, maybe he hurt before, could be incredible. I'm excited for when he can do that, if he chooses to. But that's kind of the stance right now and I hope we don't give up as humans the opportunity to grow and to learn and to give each other the space to grow and to learn. But I also love the idea of accountability and holding each other accountable to when we mess up, to say, hey, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get better? How are we going to grow? So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. We don't know a lot more except the fact that this is where we sit.
Yeah. And, I think it's it's so interesting hearing it from your perspective too, because like you said, you're friends with both of them. For most of us, we're just like, oh, these are people, that we hear about and we see on TV. But, to be in that position where you're like, I know both these people, it's a much different, approach to thinking about it, where, people who don't know them might just be like, well, that person was right, the other person was wrong. So.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. They're both public figures. I get, we can choose sides. I don't know if ultimately, like, and I guess I can only control my world or control my own actions. And it's like, I really desire to be a part of the solution and helping. I think a lot of people feel that way. And so now it's just like continuing my own world to process, like, what was said that was wrong. And then how can I be a part of helping and not hurting? And I hope others feel the same way, because I think we have a really great future in front of us if we can all take steps to help and not continue to cause damage.
Well said. for sure. We all know if you were ever caught in a situation like this, you'd be the person to grow, and yeah, I'm curious to see what will come of it. I listened to a really interesting
Yeah.
podcast that Rachel Lindsay hosts. I can't remember the name, but I was just like, for like the hour and a half, I was like, I just am so interested to hear like every word they have to say about this.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a good conversation, obviously, that's being had in a lot of places. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for sharing your opinion. And I wanted
No
to
problem.
just kind of, end on a lighter note. I know you
Okay.
have a million things you're doing. I think, like you said, people think of you just as the former bachelor, but you have your coffee company. Yeah, I know you're involved in some restaurants in Denver. There you go. Funny story. I
Yeah.
don't know actually if you remember, because this was a while ago when I first started my matchmaking company. I did a raffle and we raffled off some of your delicious coffee.
I don't remember that. Typically I would, but I don't remember that. But I'm glad. Did we give it to you?
Yeah, you gave me some coffee. I raffled it off to an amazing single person. We had a big party. It was great.
Good. Good. We did well then.
Yeah, you did
Yeah.
great.
Uh, yeah. So I'll tell you a little about those. Generous Coffee is a company we started a few years ago, 3 years ago now, that I co-own and that I operate. And the cool part about Generous is all the owners. So there's four of us. We've signed our names in the operating agreement off of the ability to make money on Generous, and so the value of the company and on the sale of products, we cannot take the profits. And
Oh,
so
wow.
we donate 100% of our profits to nonprofits and social causes around the world that are fighting human-facing injustice. And it's been an incredible project. It's a ton of
Mm-hmm.
fun. It's my full-time job. And then also, yeah, the restaurants. I have two restaurants here in Denver, Ashkara and Mr. Oso. That's really fun.
Yeah.
The podcast, the book. Yeah, so like things are good. Like there's some cool projects. I just get to work with really cool people though too. And I think that's maybe the most fun is it's a lot of work, but it's been really fun to be surrounded by some incredible just humans, especially with Generous along the
Oh,
way.
yeah. I mean, the coffee's good too. I can attest to that. So,
It's specialty grade. So scientifically, if you rate coffee, it is the best coffee in the world. Like now, there's a lot of those kind of coffees. It's not like going to win number one at the cupping, like the World Cup cuppings, but like coffee's rated on a scale of 1 to 100, and anything 84 and above is specialty grade. We always buy 84 and above. So if you drink Generous Coffee, you're drinking the best coffee. I always say it this way: because 100% of the profits are donated back, you're going to drink coffee anyways. Why not make it life-changing coffee?
I love it. There's the elevator pitch.
You like that,
I like
Abby?
that a lot.
That's right. That's right.
We just got a question from someone too. Rachel
Okay.
wants to know what you would change about The Bachelor to improve the process for everyone.
Oh, geez. A lot.
All right, let's hear it.
I, yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of the positive changes now, like more diversity in all ways on the cast. I think that's a helpful thing. So if that's like an assumed change that everybody knows needs to be made, then we look into the process itself. I would take if we wanted to make it work, I would allow a little bit more time alone, away from cameras. I think that's helpful if we really want to see love stories form or for people to get to know each other. I don't hate the idea of less travel. I think travel oftentimes really exhausts the contestants. You're like traveling time zones and everybody's tired and grumpy. I don't hate that idea. I'd say those are the two big changes I can think of right now.
Yeah.
Is more time alone, less travel, and then obviously the things that are already being hopefully in the works with the show that have been brought up here over the last few years.
And what I'm kind of curious, how much alone time do you get with each person off camera?
None. I mean, fantasy suites. That's all.
It.
That's
Seriously.
it. That's all you get. Oh yeah, that's all you get. So like, there needs to be more because that's like 8 hours. You go in at like let's say 12, and you're woken up at 7 or 8. Like, yeah, it's not enough. And yeah, they need to allow more if they really want people to get to know each other. Now, it might not be a part of the show, but I do think it would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine like how you can choose someone at the end and you're like, we've only had 8 hours, where we've actually been
Sometimes it
ourselves. Yeah,
works.
right. It does sometimes work. It does sometimes work.
Yeah, it
So
does.
it'd be cool if they all worked, right?
Wouldn't that be fun for us to watch if every time
Yeah.
we just knew a love story was going to be formed?
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe we wouldn't watch.
that doesn't always
Yeah.
happen. Maybe we wouldn't watch it. We want to see what happens.
If you had to pick one other, like, reality kind of love relationship TV show to watch, what would it be?
Love Island, probably. Oh, I don't know if this is considered it. I'm a big Real World fan. In fact, they're coming back here soon. I grew up on the Real World. I
Oh, I love
love the
it.
Real World. In fact, if I had a little bit more of a wild child in me, I would have done the Real World.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
I always watched it. And I was like, I would have loved to be that guy and just having a blast. But I was an only child too, so the idea of living in a house with a bunch of people my age and like having friends and roommates sounded so cool to me. That's why college was so much fun.
Maybe they'll
But
let you on in a
that's
new season.
I don't know if like the married dude is like the is the guy they need right now.
Maybe you can be the voice of reason for all of the single men
That's
on the
right.
show.
The wise counsel. That's
Yeah,
fair.
you
Yeah,
can
I
be
get
the
that.
sage. You just sit in the corner sipping a
Yeah.
whiskey or something. I don't know.
Come to me, child. Tell me your problems. I'd love that. That'd be
All
good.
right, well, MTV, if you're still doing Real World and listening, Ben wants to be on.
That's right.
Oh, that is awesome. I know before I interrupted with my question, and also for guys, if you're listening, if you have any other questions, send them in. We'd be happy to answer them. Um, my big question I wanted to ask you was, what's the next big project you're working on?
Next big project. You would ask that. Well, the book is still number one, right? Alone in Plain
I know that
Sight
just came
is still
out.
the number one project. It just came out. The wedding is also a big project in my life that we're going to be working
Hmm.
on. Generous is always a huge project. That is where my heart lies. I did start a company last year called My Fan Threads, and this is so boring, so I'm not going to go too much in detail. But it is a print-on-demand apparel company. So you can actually go there right now. Go to myfanthreads.com, and you can find this apparel from a bunch of people from the show and other celebrities, and you can buy it. It's a little apparel company that's going really well, and so that's kind of what I'm going to start diving into and trying to like form to be to be able to operate on its
Hmm.
own. Uh, and then after that, I don't know. I mean, COVID. I mean, Hope Still Wins is a show I do on Wednesday nights on my Instagram Live. I want to figure out if there's some potential there. Like, I really enjoy that show, and I enjoy asking some of the people that I admire the most in this world, like where they've been, where they're going, and what they dream of. And so I want to see that could be it. But right now with COVID, after this book is kind of done with its big launch push, I'll be honest with you, Abby. I'm ready. I'm ready for a break.
Okay, good.
So I might take some time and breathe and let my mind go and see if there's something else up there that can come to the surface that might be worth
Go on
trying.
vacation, maybe?
That'd be good. I'd like that.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
going on my first vacation in a year in 2 weeks, and I'm so excited.
Yeah, see, it's been a while. And so
Yeah.
I think a lot of us like need to take some time just to rest. And so I'm excited for that. But sometimes on those vacations is when those ideas come to you and you're like, "Oh, that's the next thing." And obviously like hosting and all those things have really slowed down. I was on tour when COVID hit. I was hosting this Bachelor Live on Stage tour.
Yeah.
I was living on a tour bus. I felt super cool. That ended, and so maybe that will come back. Well, we'll just wait
There
and
was
see.
one in Denver, too.
Yeah, yeah, there was. I mean, we did 20 of them, and I was living. Listen to this. I was living on John Legend's bus. So like his bus for his Christmas tour was the same bus I
Wow.
had, and so you got to imagine how cool I felt, and I felt cool, and now it's over.
You
But
peaked. You
who
peaked
knows? Maybe
then.
that,
There's nothing else left when you're on John Legend's bus.
yeah, and it's all downhill from
Was
here.
John Legend there with you?
No, but that'd be actually be weird. No, he was
He's
not.
just hanging out. He's the opening act for you or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. May sell a few more tickets.
So one other question I just got from someone who texted me is,
Okay.
what is your favorite or go-to date night? If you want to take your fiance out, Where are you going to go in Denver?
Well, we're gonna go to Ashikara or Mr. Osa. Those are my two restaurants. So
That's
we're gonna
not
go there.
fair.
But that's not fair.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's take those two out of
that's too
consideration.
easy. Yeah.
We have a spot in Evergreen, Colorado called the Willows. Um, is it the Willows or Willow Creek, hon?
Willow Creek.
Willow Creek, sorry. It's called Willow Creek. And it's where we've done now 2 anniversaries.
Right.
To
2 years.
2 years. And it's incredible. Like, it's romantic. It's on the lake up there in Evergreen. Incredible food as a chef that came from New York. Great wine menu. And so we like to sit up there. It's a little restaurant. So if you're in Denver and you want a little escape, I go to the Willow Creek in Evergreen. We also, our date nights are really, I always enjoy them because we don't do them too often. We always eat together, or we try to, but sometimes it's like going on a walk together or exercising together, like, are some of the most fun things we have. And but a good date night, a good glass of wine, a good martini, a good glass of whiskey or tequila. I just named every liquor you can drink. So that makes me sound really good. I'm a very happy guy.
Just
I
get
promise.
wild.
But just get wild, have some good dinner. That's the greatest nights.
Oh, awesome. I've never checked out that restaurant. I'll have to go investigate.
Please do, Abby.
Okay, we have one other question from Caitlin. She says, any chance you can get Broncos signatures on your website? I think this is the t-shirt website.
Ooh, possibly. I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
But if there is a demand, I'm sure we can satisfy that demand, and I can try that.
Yeah, there's a demand from Caitlin. I bet there's probably other people who might like that too.
Yeah, go Broncos.
Yeah, right? I'm excited to actually go to some Broncos games next year, hopefully.
I think it's something we're all excited to. Get out there in the sporting events again. It's been too long. We need to get back out and enjoy some sports.
We definitely do. All right, I think those are all the questions. I want just a parting thought from you as I let you go enjoy your evening. For single people listening, what do you think is the best advice you would give as they're, maybe working with me or on dating apps or DMing people and searching for a partner?
Best advice: don't stop working with Abby. That's the best advice I can give you. Also, don't stop dating. You might want to take a break and just like refocus, refuel, re-energize, but don't give up. Dating can create some of the best stories, the most funny stories, some of the most beautiful stories, sweetest stories, all those things. Just explore the humans around you. But finally, I guess my advice would be like, if you have breath, you really matter. And if you have breath, you're extremely valued. And if you have breath, you're an asset to this world. And so always speak that into yourself and then go out on the town and see what comes to you. I don't know. I mean, I think in my life, I've always seen that dating can be a lot of fun. It can be really funny. And there was very few things that I enjoyed more and before I met Jessica than going on a really weird date and call my buddies the next day and be like, you'll never guess what happened. This stuff's weird. I don't know. It makes it kind of fun.
Oh, and we have to end on one more thing because, of course, this is called the Ghosted Podcast, and we do let people share stories of when they got ghosted, or maybe if you want to own up to ghosting someone. Do you have a story you want to share?
I was known to ghost.
Oh, no.
Yeah, not good. So here's my question for you, though. So it was always after 1 or 2 dates. It was never farther than that. And it was just kind of like there was never a not show up. It was just like, maybe not text back. So I don't know if it was good or bad. I never had, I will blame it on this. I never had the courage. I didn't know how to, after a 1 date, to say I'm not interested, even though I probably should have. Looking back, it would have been a lot more helpful. I just would have rather let it go, and I thought that was in the message. So I will admit to my faults and say that I will not be ghosting again. Anytime Jessica texts me, I will be responding.
Good. I was going to say that's our rule, on the Ghosted Podcast. No more ghosting after you own up to it.
There you go. There you go.
Hey, I appreciate you
Fair enough.
owning up to being a ghoster. It's okay. We'll let it slide this time. We can still post this episode.
I'm not proud of myself, but we'll get better.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you again for, spending so much time with
Thank
me
you, Abby.
this evening. This was such a fun, easy conversation. And yeah, thank you for sharing, being vulnerable, giving great tips. And any last final thoughts?
No, thanks a lot. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great one. It's really great to see you.
Yeah.
And thanks for chatting with me,
Of
Matt.
course. You too. Go spend some time with your fiance.
I
All
will.
right.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.
See ya.